Hi guys, it's Rúben Amorim's first year anniversary at Manchester United, and listen man, his first 12 months at Man United, it's been ups and downs, more downs than ups. I'm sure you'd all agree. And obviously, following on from Erik ten Hag's tenure, it's been defined by a sharp managerial style, as it's been said by some people. I think one of the main things he came in to kind of re-establish was discipline, and he showed his teeth doing that. Obviously a massive tactical shift from what we were used to seeing under Erik ten Hag. He is absolutely committed to three at the back, but the system has little details in it that don't stay the same, and it's not a rigid three at the back either, or 3-4-3. He does do things a little bit differently and moves things about, and different pieces get moved about. But listen, if we want to look at his raw numbers before we get into the granular detail, Amorim's raw numbers after a year, and it doesn't read great, I've got to be honest with you, but we are in a period of improvement right now, so don't get too down. But 54 games, 121, drew 14, lost 19. Listen, a few weeks ago, that would have looked worse. So we're improving. 88 goals scored, 83 conceded. And last season was a European Cup final. Disappointment. FA Cup 5th round, quarter-final of the League Cup, and 15th. Yes, you heard it right. 15th in the league. And the players he's called upon most in his 1 year tenure at the club, players that have made the most appearances: Bruno Fernando 52, Mazraoui 45, Dalot 45, Ugarte 44, Lenny Yoro 44. That's including subs as well, so that's why Ugarte's on there, because you wouldn't initially think he's played as many games as many others, or even Mazraoui at times. But I think the best thing to get into first and foremost is just his managerial style and culture. Firstly, I think he came in and wanted to have a culture shift immediately, and discipline was one of the first things he was going around and hitting people with. I think he spoke publicly about punctuality and respecting the group and stuff like that. And I'm not going to start naming all the players, but there were players that he seemed to pick out and go, right, this is it. I think that professionalism, making sure that players' punctuality improved. I think establishing a leadership group was important to him, and I think it's been good. I think Bruno Fernandes obviously is the man who wears the armband, and Maguire, who had it previously, is in there, and Martinez are in there as well. And getting them rules down and making sure those guys govern that as well is really important. I think if you're going to have a good team, leadership is important. It's not just one person. I always harp on about that. And it seems like the players over the course of this year have started to respond to him in a positive way. And it's actually nice now that I'm doing this year review, because we're in a period of building momentum, confidence is building. And I don't think he's had this throughout his whole tenure, where he can sit back and go, actually, there's a group of games all together where we're seeing some nice traits. Yes, there's loads of room for improvement, don't get me wrong, but we're seeing a couple of nice traits. The ability to show character at times in games when before we would have folded, scoring late goals and grabbing a result out of it, having some continual things and patterns of play that we're seeing in some games, still aiming for more consistency in that. But and we've seen a slight shift in his detail within the system. Yes, a lot of people were calling it, he's got to change the system, etc. And everyone's going, oh, he seems to he hasn't changed the system, he's still playing a back three. It's just that the delivery of that and the implementation of that has been tweaked slightly. And I think one of the biggest things for me is his ability to actually fall back out of the press at times and wait for our good moments to go on press. And it's not being done every time we turn the ball over. We got to press. That was naive, and it was our undoing a lot of the time. We were easy to play against them in transition, especially, and we were getting punished and we were getting hurt repeatedly in that. we seem to have been able to calm that down, and you're getting them better performances from players like Casemiro because of that. Do you know what I mean? Delit because of that. I think a huge thing has been the acquisition of Cunha and Mbumo, especially because they are really, really very good, first of all, football guys in terms of loving football. They're great way about them, tactically very astute, and they have a real good confidence that they brought to the squad that is really, I think, feeding through the team. And I think talking of signings, I think it's important to kind of, especially after seeing Jason Wilcock's interview the other day, it's really important to see how much goes into it. Data has a big presence and a big voice, but so too do the recruitment department, who then feed into Jason Wilcock's, who then has those continual conversations with Rúben Amorim about players. And that's an ever-growing conversation that's going on throughout the season, before transfer window opens, during transfer window. And I think the manager, I said this loads of times, by the way, when the manager gets his team, when the manager gets his players that are recruiting based on what his profile of players meant to look like, then we can start judging him. And we've seen an upturn since those players have come in. We've seen an upturn in momentum building, confidence building, but by no means are we there yet, guys. But we can see something building, and there's something to be optimistic about, which is good, because we've been negative for a long time, guys, and we've been really on the back foot thinking, wow, we're becoming a laughing stock. People are just looking at us and humouring us a lot of the time. We're out of any chatting WhatsApp groups, and I'd like to think right now we're starting to be on people's radars a bit more. Still a lot to do. And I mean, if you look at the outlook now and the context of which he took the job, he came in with turmoil. He inherited that the culture that was there, that he identified immediately didn't need to be changed. Very toxic period under Ten Hag. And I have to say, it's been slow progress to this point, but we are starting to reap the rewards of the time that he's had there now. And it hasn't been an immediate jump that sometimes you do get at clubs. But I think one thing I would say is I think that the powers that be at the club, the Sir Jim Radcliffe's, the Omar, Jason Wilcock's, the support that the managers had, and I think the public show of support from Sir Jim Radcliffe recently was an absolute huge vote of confidence for the manager. But it also was almost like, listen to the players, you got to understand, guys, I'm backing the manager. He's going nowhere. So none of this think you can sit around and just go, we'll wait for him to get the sack and then I'll be all right with the next manager. No. This guy's going to be here for a while now. We've got to get our seatbelts on and enjoy the ride. And I think that vote of confidence in time, I hope and I feel it will go down as a real big moment in leadership at the football club, from the Ineos department. And I think if you're going to look at it and you're going to round it up, Amorim inherited a team 14th in the table. They now sit 7th in the league as of November 2025. And when you're talking about where will Manchester United end up, what are the aspirations for this season now, I think everybody's sitting there, including myself, going, right, well, Europe would be a very good indicator as real improvement. And I don't think it matters what type of Europe, but Europe right now, from where we finished last season, would be a very good improvement on where we are. And I want to see that consistency continue through performance, collectively as individuals, the growth of the new signings as well, integrating into that squad, all of that continuing, because we're playing one game a week and the training pitch is a place where we're training players and getting them to understand what the manager wants. I want to see all this continually play out for the rest of the season, finish strongly, and then we can go into next season and this transfer window and go, yeah, right, guys, here we are. We can really start to motor on now. So, again, in researching and doing my little bit of due diligence for this little piece, I think I've got to shout out Laurie Whitwell, Man United correspondent at The Athletic, who wrote a really great article on Amorim's first year. Listen, man, stay tuned, guys, for all the topics, all the hot topics that we have. And make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to the channel because we've got loads of stuff coming down the pipe. And but stay tuned, guys. Stay tuned for Sadio Mane.